Tonight, Donald Trump's trip to the Middle East marks a pivotal shift in American foreign policy, laden with historic ambition, strategic recalibration, and unsettling controversy. Trump has signed over $1 trillion worth of deals with Gulf nations, including Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar. These agreements span defence, energy, and technology, redefining American ties with the Arab world and creating new pressure on Iran's long-standing influence in the region. And that's one of Trump's goals, and it's clear. He's seeking to draw the Gulf away from the malign influence of the Iranian regime and forge deeper economic and strategic ties between moderate Arab powers and the US. He envisions a new Middle East where Saudi Arabia and even Syria might normalise relations with Israel, expanding on the Abraham Accords that he achieved during his first term. This is a monumental shift in global foreign policy. It's underway right now. And Trump's actions here in seeking to reshape the influence in the Middle East have been little understood or even analysed in the international media. Yet for all the geopolitical promise, this trip has sparked significant ethical and even national security concerns. The trip has its complexities. It's provided strong investment in American companies and it's energised the markets globally. But it also cements relationships that are bolstering the pockets of the Trump family in ways that are undeniable. The Trump family is directly profiting from deals across the Gulf, from Trump-branded real estate developments to Gulf sovereign funds investing in Trump-linked ventures. The lines now between diplomacy and private gain are dangerously blurring. And I'll come back to this point in a moment. But the Qatari ruling family's gift of a $400 million aircraft to Trump, intended to replace Air Force One at least temporarily, is the flashpoint of this. And there are two issues here. A gift of this size from a foreign government and the fact it's from Qatar, which has been harbouring and financing Hamas terrorist leadership for years. I mean, protecting the terrorists who've even attacked American civilians rather than demanding they return hostages and stop financing terror is quite something. One conservative influencer in the US, Laura Loomer, put it well when she said America shouldn't accept a gift from jihadists in suits. And of course, she is referring there to that Qatari gift of the plane. I spoke today with the Australian's foreign editor, Greg Sheridan, and he said the notion that America needed to accept a plane from Qatar was an idea that would be even too preposterous for Evelyn Waugh. He said, "I cannot believe the most powerful and richest nation in the world has to take a charity jet from Qatar, and that Trump would think it's even appropriate for it to become part of his presidential library." And then there's the concerns about listening devices, and security experts have warned about potential embedded surveillance technology.
Could you trust that this thing wouldn't be bugged in some way that would be very hard to find? Of course not. You really would have to be worried about that.
And the Wall Street Journal reports that even Republicans who support Trump were deeply uncomfortable with this, both from a security perspective and whether the aircraft would have the ability to refuel in midair or the technology for an airborne command centre. Because a presidential plane is different. It includes sophisticated defence and communication systems so that a president can conduct his full duties, including commanding the military while in flight. And parts of the plane are so secret that reporters travelling with the president are barred from photographing certain sections up close. That's in the Wall Street Journal. Now, Trump has rejected all these criticisms and said the plane would save taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars.
But I thought it was a beautiful gesture. Now, there are those that say we shouldn't be accepting gifts to the Defense Department. And I would say only a stupid person would say that. Why wouldn't we do that? And so it helps us out because we'll have a relatively new plane instead of having 40-year-old planes. These planes are 40 years old.
But there are many Republicans against it, among them Nikki Haley. She said on X that accepting gifts from foreign nations threatens intelligence and national security, especially when that nation supports a terror organisation and allows those terror regimes to live on its soil. Regardless of how beautiful the plane may be, it opens a door and implies the president and US can be bought. And this is a line the Democrats are now running to.
The White House has a for sale sign on the front lawn, and everybody knows it.
Now that's Obama's former chief of staff, Rahm Emanuel, who said on that left-leaning show The View that he was personally offered bribes when he went on an official visit to Saudi Arabia.
When I went to Saudi Arabia with President Obama, first trip, first thing.
Yeah.
We're at the king's ranch for his horses. You get there, you walk in the room, and there was an ostrich briefcase. I opened it up. Diamond necklaces, earrings, bracelets, rings.
In your room?
Yeah, and I took a photo. I sent it to my wife, Amy,
That's
and I
some
said,
sort of minibar.
Not happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Not happening.
As a federal employee,
and then you
only
have to take it, and you have to go over to the room next door where the State Department chronicles everything. They make sure everything. The idea that you're going to take a jet.
It's not just Democrats. Many Republicans are highly concerned. They're even speaking out publicly. And among those who've done so are Ben Shapiro, Senator Rick Scott, Ted Cruz, host Mark Levine, Cynthia Lummis, Rand Paul, and John Thune. Another highly controversial moment on this Middle East visit was Trump's meeting with Syria's new leader, Ahmed al-Sharaa. He's a United States designated terrorist who previously led a fundamentalist Islamic jihadi group. And this was the first meeting between an American and Syrian president in 25 years. Skeptics of this meeting, including the Wall Street Journal, note the lack of precedent for a former jihadist leading a nation towards peace. The editorial board said there's no precedent for a former al-Qaeda commander, such as Mr. Sharaa, who rallied jihadists from Syria and beyond, leading a state to peace, stability, and amity with the West. But even more astonishing than the meeting itself is that Trump lifted decades-old economic sanctions on Syria without extracting concrete concessions. Now, these are sanctions that first started in 1979. Isn't this simply basic negotiation principles for which Trump prides himself? And then he lavished praise on the terror leader.
How did you find the Syrian president?
Great. I think very good. Young, attractive guy, tough guy. You know, strong pass. Very strong pass fighter.
Does that worry you at all?
He's got a real shot at pulling it together.
But Trump did encourage Sharaa to normalise relations with Israel, to kick out foreign terrorists and help defeat Islamic State. And Trump's strategic goal is to draw Syria away from the destructive and evil influence of the Ayatollahs of Iran. Now, let's hope Trump's diplomatic gamble pays off and it doesn't end up being a dangerous legitimization of another brutal Syrian regime. But there are increasing concerns that Trump has sidelined Israel, and he has, in at least 3 instances, betrayed his long-standing and America's long-standing ally and strategic partner. And Trump negotiated a ceasefire with Yemen's Houthis while the terrorists were still targeting Israel, including bombing a site frighteningly close to Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion airport. And then even more bizarrely, the US president praised the Houthis.
We had a very good outcome with the Houthis. They took tremendous punishment. And, you know, you could say there's a lot of bravery there. It was amazing what they took. But we honor their commitment and their word. They gave us their word that they wouldn't be shooting ships anymore, and we honor that.
I mean, just to understand what he just said there, the Houthis have been interrupting the international shipping trade for nearly 2 years now, and Trump is describing them as brave. They are terrorists. And the message Trump is sending is that Israel's security wasn't a prerequisite for America's deal with the Houthis. I mean, how can Trump cut a deal with the Houthis and allow them to continue striking Israel? There are also concerns that Trump is drawn to the grandeur, the luxury, the extravagance of these royal receptions he's getting, the extravagant gifts as well. Barry Weiss's Free Press did quite the investigation where they reported on the financial ties between Trump's administration and Qatar. And this includes his FBI director, attorney general, and chief of staff. Even Steve Witkoff reportedly happens to be a beneficiary of Qatar's largesse. In 2023, Qatar's sovereign wealth fund bought out his faltering investment in New York's Park Lane Hotel for $623 million. Now, this is all perfectly legal. Everything that I just mentioned there, nothing illegal about it. It's all perfectly legal. And so is the fact that Jared Kushner's private equity fund reportedly had a $2 billion investment from Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. It also had investments from Qatar and Abu Dhabi-based firms. And Eric Trump has also made headlines for promoting his cryptocurrency firm in Dubai ahead of his dad's trip to the Gulf. And meanwhile, the Trump Organization, which is managed by Donald Trump Jr., is building a new luxury golf resort near Doha. And this is in partnership with a Qatari company. Again, all legal. But worth keeping in mind that Qatar has been financing Palestinian terrorism and protecting Hamas leaders, terrorists that have kidnapped and killed not just Israeli citizens, but American citizens as well. And the Free Press reports that members of Qatar's royal family openly express support for Hamas. Sheikha Moza bint Nasser, she's the mother of Qatar's emir and the chairperson of an educational non-profit funneling millions into American schools, praised the mastermind of October 7, that's Yahya Sinwar. She said on X, he will live on after his death last year, and they will be gone. So what we're seeing here is personal enrichment, praise for terror leaders, and acceptance of gifts from problematic regimes. Trump's Middle East tour presents a complex picture, both legitimate, even praiseworthy strategic ambition for America, but also ethical ambiguity. His visit has been economically and strategically beneficial for the United States, no question, and perhaps even potentially it could turn out to be beneficial for Israel if, and it's a big if, Trump can convince Saudi Arabia and Syria to normalise ties with the Jewish state. His trip reflects a bold vision to shape a volatile region and erode Iran's dominance, while also raising concerns about personal gain, diplomatic judgment, and his treatment of key allies like Israel. Now, if Trump can convert grand gestures into lasting peace and genuine realignment without compromising his or America's national security and principles, then history may judge this visit more positively than today's headlines suggest. For now, Trump perhaps deserves the benefit of the doubt as we await to see what unfolds in the coming days.